work, banking, email, online shopping. Passwords are everywhere. You can find a lot of guidance about what makes a good password. But it is difficult to follow this best practice at all times. This video will give you an attacker's perspective on passwords, to help you find the right balance between convenience and security. So why would I want your password? The simple answer is to make money. There are underground markets that sell drugs, weapons and passwords. Prices range from a few cents for a site like a chat forum, up to a few $100s for something valuable like a bank account. Let's look at some of my customers to understand this a little more. The first group are fellow hackers. They usually want big databases that they can process and add to their own, using real user accounts to build botnets, install ransomware, or send spam. Next we have fraudsters who are willing to pay more for high-value accounts. They look for stored credit cards that can be reused or enough personal data that allows them to open fraudulent bank accounts. Finally, there are individuals who know exactly what they are looking for. Detailed profiles for people linking personal and work accounts. I don't know which company or government is behind the requests, but I do know how easy it is to hack people with the right information. So where do I get my data and passwords? I have several different methods that target specific users. But the biggest bang for your buck comes from hacking server databases. There is at least one news story a week of big companies being hacked. My vault above shows a snapshot of how many accounts have been hacked. These are companies that you would think could be trusted with security. $164 million emails and passwords from LinkedIn. Hacked, 2012, disclosed, 2016. My favorite example is Yahoo. Let's look at this in more detail now. Yahoo servers were breached in 2013 and 2014. But, the first public resale of this information didn't happen until 2016. It took a further 3 months for Yahoo to publicly admit the data loss. Over the course of the next year the estimate of compromised accounts rose, first to 1 billion, at which point Yahoo finally reset user passwords. And eventually, all 3 billion accounts, including dates of birth, telephone numbers, and unencrypted security questions and answers such as mother's maiden name. If you are now worried about your own passwords, visit avibingpwn.com. It contains a list of public breaches where you can check your accounts, but remember, I get paid more for breaches that are not public knowledge. You are probably a little worried about your own passwords now. Well, here is some good news. I may not be able to use your password right away, if it is stored safely, so, how do websites store your passwords? If your passwords are stored without being changed, known as plain text, then it doesn't matter how good your password is, I can use it immediately, logging into any accounts with the same password and selling on the details. You can't stop websites storing your password badly, but you can protect yourself by not reusing your passwords. I often check for badly stored passwords using the password reset feature. If the reset email contains your old password, then it isn't stored safely. Properly stored passwords use a technique called hashing. A hash takes some input and turns it into a random set of characters. The example above shows how this works. These random characters cannot be used to access accounts, and they cannot be easily reversed to give the original password. But, the same input always gives the same hash, so it can be broken. The way I do this is to guess different inputs until the outputs match. I could try every combination, AAAAA, AAAAB, AAAAC, etc. but this can take days or years for passwords longer than 9 letters. This is why long passwords are important. However, just being long isn't good enough, because I can make specific guesses. I start with common words, and then add common variations. The final step is then to automate the process. My home PC can make 5 billion password guesses per second. The screen above shows successful guesses, in real time. The system uses dictionary words, and also millions of real user passwords from previous database leaks. These are combined with over 100,000 rules to create billions of guesses. This approach is very effective and exploits bad user habits, using the same or similar passwords on multiple sites, using a password system to work out a password for each site, or using common substitutions like 5 for S or 3 for E. Over 50% of passwords could be guessed during this video so far. When choosing a password, you need to make it hard and slow me down. Make it so hard to guess that it takes me years. And hopefully in that time, the server will admit to the data breach, and maybe even help you to reset your password before I can get in. The only way to slow me down is to use unique randomly generated passwords. Password management is a balance between security and convenience. I have shown you that websites cannot be trusted to keep your passwords safe. And over time your passwords will be hacked and sold on to other criminals. Obviously remembering long unique random passwords is impossible, writing them down and typing them in each time is inconvenient. The best balance between these things is to use a password manager. A password manager is simply a safe where you store all your passwords, protected with a long master password that you remember. Here are some things to look for in a product. Use a paid service. They have a financial incentive to invest in security. Cloud backup from a trusted company is safe enough for most people, but there are offline systems that store your data only on a local drive. Autofill can quickly enter your passwords for you, and gives you some protection from phishing attacks. Random password generators make it easy to create secure passwords for each site. If you are left with many questions, leave them in the comments, and remember, stop using bad passwords. It makes my job too easy.